How can the technocratic, rationalist way of human development be corrected? On one hand, we live in such a wonderful time when a lot of knowledge is available. This knowledge is deep, necessary, and useful, and in practice it is under open access to anyone. And by possessing certain techniques, for example a computer or a library card, we can get information independently. On the other hand, the apparent degradation of the consciousness can be seen. For example, as education becomes more primitive. So, it is like a dead end. There are ancient monuments, and it is totally unclear as to how they were built. As we know from history, we progress in our technological development. If this is true, then how was Petersburg built? This is totally unclear to me. How was old Europe built? It is also unclear to me. How were the castles built? It is obvious that people were not less clever than we are. They were obviously more intelligent and possessed some technologies that we don't have today. Then why currently is this the way it is? You want to ask why, with what seems to be a higher degree of development with technologies and so on. Yes, there is no progress. Previously, they have created a plane and sent a rocket to space. Ah, these were significant events in the life of society. And what are we seeing now? Yes, even not what we see, but what the TV shows, presents us to see. There is already a more advanced phone, and now we don't have to press buttons, and we can touch the screen. But there does not exist any inspiring progress, which in principle could have taken place if it went at the same speed as we had seen in the late 19th century and the first half of the 20th century. Why is this dissonance necessary, if it has already formed, and it is already necessary to do something about it? In general, why are we heading down this path? There are endless ways of development paths that lead to an infinite number of different developmental scenarios. That is, those variants of continuums in which our personal interpretations are living through completely different experience of existence. There is Oksana, who is now sitting here with me. There is Oksana, who did not go to this meeting. There is Oksana, who is going somewhere right now, or who is sitting at home, or is doing something completely different. All of these are different development scenarios. We exist simultaneously in a variety of different possibilities of our realization. What currently surrounds us, what we are aware of, it is not the best option of our existence. Because from a certain point in our development, the technocratic process had began to dominate. Somewhere at the end of the 18th century, people began to revel in intellect. It had become very fashionable. This has led to the fact that currently the intellect has become the cornerstone of any matter. That is, rationalism. Rationality goes as far as cynicism, and at the same time at the expense of intellectual development, at the expense of paying attention to something different. People who are engaged in this development have lost cordiality, warmth, their humanness. This is the way it happens. Neuronal chains are formed in the brain. There is the prefrontal cortex, which is tied to some parts of the limbic system and receives signals and opportunities for realization. The more we are engaged in some certain types of thinking, the more frequently we utilize the same neural chains. The neural system is constructed in such a way that If some neurons in some areas of the brain are idle and not used for a long time, then their degradation takes place, and they gradually die off. Firstly die exactly those neurons that are not used. And very often it happens that, with a great focus of attention on thought processes, instead of using our brain for positive feelings, we weaken those neural chains, which are involved in such qualities as cordiality, sympathy, empathy, altruism, and instead directly all activity leads to the development of ego, rationality, profitability, selfishness, survival, and so on. And this is transmitted to our children because at the moment of conception, the future child receives 50% of the paternal genome and 50% of the maternal genome. That is, the child receives from his parents the experience and the achievements that they have accomplished up to the moment of conception. After, on the basis of their accumulated experience, we further develop our own experience. And if interests of both parents were around selfishness, around survival, around intellect, around the development of the mind, to the detriment of other qualities, then we will continue this trend. We will develop this interest to higher qualitative levels. That is, rationality we will develop into mental abilities. The mind will develop up to the level of intellect. Intellect will develop up to the level of intuition, all the time improving ourselves on this path, the path of intellectual development. But during this time, many genes in our genome become deactivated. Those genes that are responsible for ethics, morality, and for social relations between people, for all the good for which we are called human beings. These genes do not die, rather, they are not expressed anymore. And we pass this on to our children. And children are becoming more intelligent, clever, and smart, but they are alienated from us, and from the good deeds, and from everything else. All of this is alien to them. With each generation, children are becoming more and more capable of technologies, but not capable of love. On the basis of this whole process, there is only one way to restore humanity to the normal development path. To claim the intellectual-altruistic development path, to state that more humane path is the intellectual-altruistic one. Already now, a huge part of humanity is inclined toward implanting itself into some interface, an artificially created one, to create some human mechanical system, believing that this will increase their lives and their period of existence. But at the same time, these people do not think about where this will lead to, and who they will become. We will become half metal, half flesh, insensitive, irresponsible, and so on. In the 5th volume, which is now being prepared for publication, in great detail is described the relationship between what we imply by soul between vivaxes and the biological system of our perception. And while all of this information does not create interest in people, we try to develop it through IIAIDCs, International Information and Altruistic Intellectual Development Centers. The first center I opened up in the Crimea, Yalta. There is a center in Moscow, Latvia, Germany, here, Florida, and there is a large group in St. Petersburg. These are mainly young people who are close to these ideas and who understand the essence of it, who are attracted by this idea's richness of information and the opportunity to realize themselves in altruism. But so far the number of such people still remains very small to strongly begin to develop this idea. It is necessary, at least, for a few tens of millions of people to be inspired by it. Then it will be able to stir up the collective consciousness of mankind and begin to transform it rapidly. That is, the knock-knock effect will happen. So far, there are only a few thousands, unfortunately. I think that is, fortunately. Why? 10,000 already. Yes, but it is very slowly. Given the fact how technological advance is happening, how rapidly our posterity is changing, our children receiving from parents powerful technocratic charge, all this may lead to the fact that there will not be enough people who are able to understand this idea. In these scenarios, there might not be enough. But most importantly is that countries, people without this idea, having lost this idea, start to degrade, in fact, begin to destroy one another. Why? Because they have lost the main tasks of the human development path. That is, people are either occupied with sensuality, some people, some nations, some countries, and others are occupied not with intellect, but with rationalism. We will say so because intellect is too high a conception for these characteristics. And this rationalism is tied to selfishness, to ambition, to a powerful national idea, which often develops into a Nazi-like movement, into a fascist movement, into a chauvinistic or racist movement. The low-quality manifestation of rationality in reality leads to very disastrous, in fact fatal, results. And all of this is due to the fact that the human synthesis scheme of all love, all wisdom, plus all will, all intellect, is not realized in the consciousness of most people. The revitalization of information takes place. That is, the experience that has been accumulated here goes to other synthesis schemes, particularly to animal ones.